Welcome to AniMirror, the podcast where the wisdom of the animal kingdom meets the depth of self-awareness.
We're your hostesses, Dr. Melissa Sell and Amy Michelle. Together, we explore the profound ways animals reflect our inner world and reveal the patterns shaping our lives.
Through the lens of the 5 biological laws of the Germanic healing knowledge, we uncover the deeper truths behind our experiences and how they can guide us towards healing and growth.
We mix a little woo-woo with biology. We're responding to the call of the wild, attuning to the frequency of nature that Dr. Homer himself called quintessence. Whether you're curious about the underlying meaning behind your pet's or frankly any animal's behavior, intrigued by nature's synchronicities, or seeking to break free from cycles of suffering, you're in the right place at the right time.
Each episode is an invitation to expand your awareness, discover new perspectives, and embrace the transformative power of the mirror animals and nature hold up for us.
So, come wildly curious and dare to open your heart in community out loud with us. And let's explore the fascinating interplay between the outer and inner worlds.
Welcome to
AniMirror, the new frontier. Okay, welcome everyone. It feels like forever, but it isn't. We have a new podcast episode with a former AniMirror Live first experiencer from our original 8 weeks, Monica Rose with Ruby Rose. And here we are again, and I think the theme, it can always change as we move through, but we're beginning with separation, conflict, which is one of my favorite themes. It's kind of the original, how did this world come to be? We all feel we're separate and think we are and perceive we are. So welcome to AniMirror Podcast. Thank you for volunteering to share your experience, Monica. And if you wouldn't mind sharing just a little bit about where are you? Introduce AniMirror Ruby Rose, and then you can kind of take it from there.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Thanks, Melissa. So I'm Monica Rose. I am a medium, a psychic, an animal communicator, and in the course of kind of developing all of those abilities, I started to hear about GNM, and when I heard about AniMirror, at first I was like, I'm taking a lot of classes, let me, maybe not, but I joined a couple of the live Friday sessions, and it was so magical that I knew I had to kind of dive into the course. And there were so many just aha moments and, puzzle pieces coming together. And it was just such an impactful experience for me that really added to kind of the animal communication and all these other experiences I've been having. So, and I'm based in Frederick, Maryland. And a little bit about Ruby Rose. I adopted Ruby when she was 3 or 4 years old, and I was 26 years old. And she was a rescue dog, and she came to me with a lot of issues. She was emaciated. She had skin issues. She was very, very anxious, very aggressive towards other dogs. And she just was very clearly had experienced a lot of trauma. And we had just an amazing life together. And last year she passed. But the amazing thing is that even in spirit, our animals are still working with us to help us learn, grow, and evolve. And so the nudge to take this class happened after Ruby had passed. And some of the realizations that came up, I knew that she was leading me to this so that I could see some of the issues that we've been dealing with, especially around separation anxiety, and kind of resolve them in myself before opening myself up to a new dog. So that's kind of the starting place, but happy to kind of go back to the beginning and share a little bit more about the separation anxiety and how that all played out, if that sounds good.
Yes, please.
Amazing. I had no idea. I don't think we both. I'm like floored in a beautiful surprise way. Of course, you're a medium, psychic, animal communicator, and of course, you're bringing the bridge to. Wait, she's not even in form anymore, and she's, oh my God, this is like magnificent and magical, and it's such a gift because it's really talking. I mean, Melissa and I have lots of conversations, even, in the course about death, and it's not what we think it is, and that the communication just continues. And so here you are. I mean, we're literally bridging the gap, the mind gap that she's not here, but she's here. And, it's just the illusion of the separation from our sight. It's just brilliant. What a beginning to this. So take it from here. This is a unique, very unique, surprising, welcoming episode. I mean, I'm sure that certain this is like almost like a live experience. Like, wait, hold on. This is like we just took it to the next level. So as you wish, as Ruby guides, do you have a picture of her? Just curious. I know we're going to use it for a thumbnail, but any pictures of her with you now that you can just kind of pop into the screen?
Yeah, I have a lot. Here's one. This was shortly after I adopted her, back in 2016. This is one of just her laying in bed.
I love it.
I could go on and on, but
I love it. Thank you so much for this what a blessing and a gift already. Here we go. So yeah, take it away. Ruby is here.
yeah. So when I got her, I didn't even know what separation anxiety was. I'd never heard of it. We had had family dogs my whole life, but none of them had experienced that. And so the first time I heard about it was when my neighbor, my sister and I had adopted Ruby together, and we were living in Washington, D.C., and my neighbor let me know, oh, by the way, do you know your dog is barking all day long while you're away at work? And I was like, no, I had no idea. So I started looking into it, and there's a lot of recommendations out there. So I did, lavender essential oil and pheromone plugins and playing calming music and some training techniques and everything. And I kind of thought that maybe we were, it was getting a little bit better, and my neighbor let me know, it wasn't quite as bad. And the more that Ruby got comfortable with us, I was like, okay, well, maybe this is fine. And I had felt some concern about it for Ruby, and also for, the place we were living. I was concerned my neighbors might report us and that could cause an issue. But at that time, everybody was working in offices. So I was like, I think we're okay. I think we're okay. And so we mostly managed for the first few years. And then the pandemic happened. And then it wasn't an issue for a couple of years because we weren't going anywhere. But then in 2021, I bought my first home, this condo here in Maryland. I started to feel concerned about her separation anxiety again, and how that would be now that I didn't have, a sister with me, or I lived with my mom for a little bit and she had a dog, and, Ruby was fine. If there was a dog or a human, anyone around, she was fine. But it was just going to be me and Ruby living here. So I started to feel a little bit of concern around how this was going to go. And by that point, I had learned about animal communication. I had stumbled upon, or, the universe led me. At the time, I would have said stumbled upon, but stumbled upon a short YouTube documentary about Anna Breitenbach, who is an animal communicator. If anyone's interested, it's just 50 minutes. It's on YouTube. And if you're not in tears by the end of it, then I don't know what to say, but it's so beautiful and just opened something in me. I couldn't believe that was possible, that we could actually communicate with our animals. So I ended up booking a reading, and I didn't understand going into the reading that a lot of the reading was actually about me. And that came as a big surprise. And what she shared with me was that a lot of the anxiety Ruby was experiencing was mirroring my own anxiety. And after that, I always told people, Ruby and I both have separation anxiety. I hadn't really noticed it in myself, but I didn't like leaving her either. I felt much safer when I was out in the world with her. And so there's, some guidance there around, calming myself and my energy before I leave and that type of thing. So I was like, okay, great, I can do that. I already had a meditation practice. So I just started deepening into that, meditating more. And then, anytime I was going to leave, I would just make sure to add a little bit more meditation time, really calm myself, really get myself grounded. And I've had a bunch of animal communicator people tell me also this idea of you should tell your animal where you're going and for how long and everything like that. So I was doing that. I was doing all those things with Ruby, still playing the calming music, all the things. And I thought at some point it was getting better. I was just feeling like, I'm doing all the things and I'm feeling better when I'm leaving. So it must be getting better. And so I got one of those video apps to see what was happening when I left home. And it turned out things were not getting better, that in fact, they were much worse than I thought. And for the entire time that I was out running errands, she was barking and panicked, just seeing her absolutely panicked and in extreme distress. And so as I was coming home, just like weighed down with groceries, feeling very upset and on the verge of tears and trying to open the front door. My neighbor, Tim, came downstairs at that exact moment, and I knew that I needed to ask for help. I felt like this is, again, is the universe letting me know, like, asking for help's not easy for me. I don't think it's easy for anybody, but I was like, wow, this couldn't be clearer that he's coming here right now. And Tim, he's just an absolutely wonderful person, and his mom had passed the year prior, and so he was living by himself, and he loved Ruby. And so it felt like this amazing moment of like, well, Tim can have her companionship. Ruby gets, a friend. She doesn't have to be alone, and I can go do things, and I don't have to be stressed out. He was thrilled to accept. And so that was worked out amazingly for a couple of years. It was just this amazing win-win-win where we all were feeling good and feeling happy. Um, and I didn't really think too much about the separation anxiety because I knew, I had it taken care of in that way. But then last year when Ruby got sick, as I was taking care of her, I took some time to just write her a letter that I read to her. And one of the things I expressed in the letter was that I was sorry that I wasn't able to help her figure out the separation anxiety. Um, to me, it felt like a failure, and there was also some shame because I was feeling like I'm an animal communicator. I'm helping other people with their animals, and here I am. I couldn't even figure this out. But she, of course, told me there was nothing to apologize for, that everything had worked out perfectly, and that if I had, figured it out, she and I both wouldn't have developed the really close relationship that we did with my neighbor. I thought that was the end of the story until I enrolled in AniMirror, and there was one of the Friday calls, and there was a discussion with one of the classmates about her dog and separation anxiety. And as you both started to kind of pull on the threads of that conversation, it became clear that this woman was experiencing guilt when she left her animal. And I I felt like I'd just been hit over the head. I feel like guilt and shame, they fit in this bucket for me where they are so subtle that it can be so hard to notice when they're present and to name them and to identify that that's happening. And now I look at it and I'm like, well, of course I felt guilty. Anytime I would leave her, I knew she would get upset. Of course there was guilt. But before that conversation on Animir, I would not have been able to name it in that way. And so there was also a part of the conversation in that class where you all helped the woman connect it back to kind of her childhood experiences. And so in reflecting after the class, I was able to clearly see, my parents divorced when I was 6 years old, and I had a very hard time. My sisters and I would go back and forth every week between my mom and my dad. Anytime I had to leave my mom, I was so devastated. And I don't know if she felt guilt, but I know that I felt, even at 6 or 7 years old, like, you shouldn't be leaving me. You shouldn't be doing this. And then here I was 30 years later having that feeling with Ruby, I shouldn't be leaving you. And it just cracked something wide open in me and was such a revelation. And it was also so multi-layered. It wasn't just guilt about Ruby. I felt guilt about my neighbors if they were having to deal with the loud noise. Having been socialized as a young girl, you're not supposed to be loud, and I was always told to keep quiet. So even having my dog making noise made me uncomfortable and feel guilty. So there were all these different layers to the guilt. It was like weeks after this class, I was still trying to explore and again, like pull on those threads of what's really happening here. And I loved in that class too, kind of the reframe you offered for her, which was around just kind of establishing this idea of I'm a sovereign being. I am empowered to do what I need to do and what I want to do, and I can leave and be free to do that without having to carry any guilt. So I started kind of, using that mantra, using that affirmation, and even I would notice when I would watch my mom's dog and her dog doesn't have separation anxiety, I would still feel a little bit of guilt leaving, and I would remind myself I'm a sovereign being. It is okay. She's okay. I'm okay. And I knew also that part of why Ruby Rose brought this to me, even as she was in spirit, is because she wanted me to see this so that the next dog that comes into my life, that I wouldn't have to carry this into that relationship and deal with the same issues around separation anxiety. So it's just all that to say that our animals are always helping us to learn and grow and evolve. And sometimes it's really not about solving the problem. Like, I think we get so focused in the 3D of, okay, my dog is doing this, my cat is doing this, and how can I fix it and make it better? But it's just about allowing things to unfold and staying curious. And again, like, I never would have expected to get so much clarity on this months after Ruby had passed. So it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. And there's other things I can share about Ruby too, that came up through the course, but I'll pause there if you all have anything you want to jump in with.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. So good. I mean, it's just so good that you're like, okay, I think I figured this out and I know what this is about. And then that deeper layer of like that just like you said, it's like invisible, that guilt, because you're a fish in water to it. It's so practiced, it's so habitual, it just kind of seems like how one must feel. Well, I mean, doesn't everyone feel this way? And to see it reflected of like, oh, I'm carrying this feeling with me when I'm away from it. I'm feeling like I shouldn't be doing this. There's something wrong. And to, the gift for her to say, hey, I think you might want to look into this because if you ever get another dog, you are going to project that same sort of, oh, and yeah, how interesting. The guilt for the neighbors, the guilt like that was just absolutely clouding up your whole experience. And then to see it with such clarity through another conversation, which is yeah, the beautiful gift of the workshop and working through everyone is there for the for a reason to hear something, and that's like so cool. Even about the podcast platform is like someone's going to hear, they need to recognize that their feeling of guilt, they're like, I shouldn't leave, I shouldn't be doing this, that, oh, they shouldn't, the dog shouldn't be whining, all of these shoulds and expectations and ideas that we have are creating this disharmony, and it's all about like harmonizing and like you said, evolving, growing, and what's the gift in this. So wow, I mean, that's super cool.
I'm almost speechless. I think you've touched upon so many of the nuggets of AniMirror and how it came to be, truly. A call, a call from the wild, but it's a call from spirit. My original, the OG of my pack is in spirit and was the original AniMirror before I knew AniMirror existed. But the original mirror that said it's time to wake up. And of course, the way that we created the name DOG, it's like so hidden in plain sight. So the dog disappears, but God is still talking, coming from the dog that we anchored our love and trust in, which, if you're asking me, now your dog is the Holy Spirit dog. It's the representation, which is what we're taught in many ways. You're never alone, you're always guided. And so in this beautiful little nugget of, it's not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't really truly, where now she's even freer, and you're even freer to have this communication and to be guided, from out of thin air, nowhere, no thing. It's the testament, if you will, of the sovereignty. Like, we if we release into that, the communication is freer, easier. And there's so many beautiful things that have really just culminated, where so the question I have for myself, a lot of listeners, a lot of us who kind of like, well, how did you know to receive that nugget, in that little trinity with Tim, you, and Ruby Rose? Like, we face these sort of like decision points or receiving points or allowing or acceptance. And it's easy kind of to say, well, just surrender to it, let go, let God, let go, let dog, just receive it, just allow it, just accept it. And it's not easy in the ego mind, right? And but to be guided to that moment, you're at a door, a threshold, and to know, or I don't know if you knew or just were like moved by Ruby, by the actual physical presence, that's the question. I don't know if you have anything to kind of just, how did you know, or how were you moved to receive that simple blessing to temporarily resolve, because the pandemic, it sounded like, temporarily resolved the track of separation as far as GNM, which is kind of the blessing of, thank God we had to stay home because I resolved something with her. Enough of an opening to see, oh, well, I didn't have to deal with it. Like the mind said, well, I don't have to deal with it anymore, but really you actually resolved it without knowing it. And then, of course, we went back to the story of going to work and separating. And then here comes another moment. So do you have anything that you can speak to about, how do you know to receive it, and how do you know not to judge it, like, oh, I'm probably making this up, and it could be trial and error, like, well, I would have known if it was a bad fit, but that threshold moment is so palpable for so many, and we judge it and we go into the guilt and shame and all the things. There was some
Yeah.
opening there that you took.
Yeah, I love that question because I have found I didn't know about any of this up until, a few 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't know about mediums. I didn't know about psychics. I didn't know about any of it. Animal communication, none of it. So I didn't know about signs back then. And now that I know about them, the thing I always explain to people is they are so subtle. Like you really have to be paying attention to notice them. Otherwise, you can very easily miss them. But in the lead up to this situation and asking Tim for help, the year before I bought my place, I was living with my mom. I had broken my foot and I couldn't walk. I had to have surgery and I was on crutches and in a boot. And I was so confronted with my inability to ask for help that it was the theme of the entire year before I moved into my place. I was getting upset when I had to ask my mom to, help wash my hair in the days after that I'd broken my foot, or, I need you to open this door for me. Like the smallest things all of a sudden I couldn't do. And I had built my identity around being, an independent woman who can handle everything. So that whole year was a lot of me pushing up against, I really want to do this myself, but I can't, and I have to ask for help. And in that moment with Tim, it was, I really felt like, on the drive back to my place, I was having this experience of asking God, asking the universe, like, where do I go from here? What now? Like, I don't know what to do. I felt like I had tried everything. And, when you try everything, like, at that point, I had already started learning animal communication myself. I had gone to animal communicators. I had done the training techniques. Like I said, like, I thought I had done everything. So it was this, like, knees on the ground, what now? What am I supposed to do moment? And Tim and I didn't run into each other that much, so the fact that he happened to be coming down the stairs at this exact moment, and while I was literally weighed down with like groceries and I bought some plants and I had all these things and I couldn't even open my door, I needed him to help me do that. It just felt so clear to me of I can't do this by myself, and I need to listen to what the universe has been offering to me the past year, which is none of us can do this by ourselves. We have to be able to ask for help. And that doesn't mean, there aren't ways that we do have to do things by ourselves and maintain some form of independence. But I think we've really lost sight of the fact that we are here to support each other as human beings, and it's not shameful or a sign of weakness to ask people for help. And the beautiful thing too was just how much this meant to Tim. Like he formed such a close relationship with Ruby, and even when she was passing, she had told me that she was so grateful for all the friends that I brought into her life. And she named Tim first and showed me, his image. And so it's just those moments where you just have to be paying attention a little bit to asking the questions of what is the universe trying to get me to see here, and how can I flow with it and move with it and be open to where it's wanting to lead me.
So in asking, the nugget I heard from GNM to AniMirror is the moment you asked for help, curiously asking out loud, is asking for help a way to resolve self-devaluation? Because it's sort of, you were talking about the year prior, you're basically self-devaluing with the conflict of, something broken and just kind of can't move forward, and I'm a mess, something's wrong with me, la la la, all the things that we, kind of throw out in our mind. and also the asking for help. You asked for help and then it arrived, right? It wasn't even like Tim, like here he comes descending out of thin air down the stairs at the threshold where you've already asked. And so you're speaking to the ask and receive, the code that was hidden. We know the phrase and it's so annoying. Like I've already asked and I haven't received. But it's just, I don't know. It's like without words, here he comes. He must have been asking for something also. You lined up. The players in the game lined up. There wasn't effort. It was, I already asked. The answer is it's already on its way because I already asked. So what's interesting is the little tweak of he showed up, like, was the effort needed to ask again, or I already asked and now here it is in front of me. Like, okay, the mind said, okay, let me ask Tim, but really Tim is the answer. I already asked. And so we've been put in each other's path serendipitously used. So, oh my goodness, and it's brilliant. And the tie-in to what you said earlier is the subtle guilt and the subtle signs and the subtlety of, the original conflict is, how did this come to be? How did we come to perceive our separation? Why do we all experience, and I will say all, in some form, anxiety, separation anxiety? And the original wound, the owie, is guilt, in my opinion. So, and it's part of the play, part of the game. And how do we traverse? How do we move to the next level of the game? Well, and then you offered the same. Well, there's also subtle signs, the subtle receiving. It's such a dance that you're kind of speaking to, including just the original. We're talking with and from this original prompt, which I'm curious, you might perhaps have an original question you asked that Ruby started to answer after transition, after physical transition. And in my case, I became an end-of-life doula because my original AniMirror moved through a transition that I was like, what the hell is happening? And I also knew this isn't what I think it means. It doesn't, like, I was remaining curious and open during that transition. So I'm curious if this conversation is an answer to a question that led you to AniMirror, the experience, and then the course. Maybe you said it, or maybe there's a little tweak to what was my original question? Was it the separation anxiety, the guilt from childhood, or was there a thought that arrived that said, oh, it's time? Very similar subtle threshold that led you to arrive here, to the course, to the experience, to listen to Ruby Rose, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I can think of something specifically, but Ruby has been, like, she's the reason I learned animal communication. I mean, I was dealing with my own health issues, so I started opening up to, like, I was trained to do Reiki and then started to learn about energy healing for animals so that I could help Ruby. And then the animal communication was so that I could help Ruby. And the mediumship was then the next step, and that was because I had lost numerous friends in my 20s. But every step of the way, I felt like Ruby was guiding me. And every class that I took, every single reading I did, she would just be laying right here behind me, absolutely silent, just holding the energy and holding the space with me. And I know that she's still working with me, so I don't know. I don't even know if I know what the question and the answer is right now. I actually feel like it's still in the unfolding, if that makes sense. And I'm really curious where this is all going. But I know kind of from a general perspective that it really is to help me release the things that aren't working for me, that aren't serving me, that she was wanting to bring my attention to that piece. And so that I could continue to elevate and grow and be a better conduit and be a better animal communicator, and be able to serve in a more aligned way. And I think too, like, this has really put just such a fine point on guilt for me. It's just, It's fascinating in so many ways because even, I'll have people come for readings and they will tell me, I'll ask, have you gotten signs from your animal? Or their animal will show me, like, I'm giving my person all these signs, they're not getting them. And then they'll show me that usually it's like a huge brick wall of guilt. And I'll ask the person about it. Is there something you're feeling guilty about? Because your animal is giving you signs. They are with you and they are trying to communicate with you. And then, most of the time there's just a complete breakdown in tears, and there's something, and sometimes it's something that they did when the dog was like 1 or 2 years old, and 10, 15 years later, they're still holding on to guilt about it. Sometimes, often, it is, and Amy, you would probably, I don't know exactly your experience with the passing of your dog, but a lot of times the guilt is around the passing of their animal. And did I make the right decision? Was the timing right? All of these questions and concerns that keep you kind of tied up in a knot. And then when your animal is trying to be like, hey, I'm here, you can't feel it, you can't receive it, because again, it is subtle. But guilt and shame, they create such a profound wall that really inhibits any ability to pick up on these like loving messages and the guidance. And then people tell themselves a story that their animal doesn't care, or that they aren't trying to guide them, or that they don't love them. And so there's just so many ways that the guilt piece has shown up since this class and everything. So maybe there will be something that comes out of that for me and the work that I do. But yeah, I think it's still very much an unfolding right now.
It's beautiful, a beautiful unfolding. I'm sitting in it. We're sitting in it with you. It's kind of where we've, through the AniMirror experience, I mean, this platform of GNM that has opened up this other, like, my bigger questions. What is the original conflict? Using the what Dr. Hammer, and I think today or tomorrow is his birthday.
Tomorrow, yeah.
So again, these kind of miraculous things happen of, oh, okay, what would it be? And to speak to, the guilt that walls us off from seeing clearly, which is the experience perhaps of waking up instead of dying, waking up from the walking dead, kind of. And the guilt that needs the evidence to stay, the evidence outside to stay where I am. So I say, you spot on, with Nikki, was, oh my God, he kept getting up. He kept getting up. He was 12 pounds and he was injected 3 times. And I had anguish about this. And it shaped the rest of my life from there to now, of all the things, of the way that I needed this. I needed this experience. I needed to feel the regret, the guilt, because it proves to me that I'm separate. I needed all of it as proof. And through that, through the daring to question the thought, the thinking led to very similarly a platform of, wait, just because I don't have a physical AniMirror doesn't mean I don't have an AniMirror. And now I'm going to show up exactly as I'm guided to this class, this course, this experience, and let it unfold and see what happens from there. So I'm curious from the GNM lens, and maybe Melissa, you can remind us all. I know of 1 or 2, but the way to resolve any conflict. There are 4, but if you wouldn't mind reminding us, and then we'll see. Have we resolved the idea of separation anyway from?
Well, the conflict is resolved when it can't happen again, when you can laugh about it, when it's just no longer relevant. As long as it still holds its relevance, as long as it could happen again, the psyche stays on alert for it. It's like, oh, hey, something happened, something shocking, unexpected, isolating, dramatic occurred in a moment. And there's before the conflict, and then there's after the DHS. This is BCAD. And after the DHS, after that moment of unexpected shock, everything changes. My world, the lens through which I see things, is altered based on that thing that happened. Being alone, being taken from my mother, being, my parents getting divorced. After that, everything was different. I saw myself differently. I saw my place in the world differently. I saw my relationships. I saw myself through this lens of vulnerability, of separation, of what could happen, right? And all this boils down at the biological level to survival. If I'm not with my family, I could die. If I'm not with my mother, I don't have a source of food. If I'm not with, the tribe, I am in danger. And so that's the primal, deep biological drive to I need to get back together because if I'm apart, not okay, probably gonna die. And so every moment we're apart, I can't be okay. I'm scanning, I'm looking, I'm whining, I'm crying, I'm shouting, I'm saying, please, please come back to me. And as long as that possibility is still there, as long as I'm associating this separation with threat to my survival, it's going to be there. And when we can see, oh, separation, does that mean how can I bring my awareness? Because like for an infant, separation does mean potential death. And so the infant doesn't have that capacity to see it from a different perspective. All it is, it's like it's just a wash in its experience, but as we develop and as we, have this ability to see, I can leave the house. I can be a sovereign, independent being who, I'm like a turtle. I carry my home with me. I actually am safe anywhere that I go. I don't have to, be entwined with the tribe at 24/7 in order for my okayness to be intact. And it's like, oh, and that's why kids grow out of things, right? Like when we're little, or even in our parents' house, we have a lot of conflicts, we have a lot of things. And then as we develop, this is why children often will go through rashy illnesses, right? And we think that these are contagious. They have to do with levels of development and levels of separation from mom, levels of realizing, oh, we're actually too big, because like an infant truly thinks it is its mother. It thinks that it's like this mother baby dyad, they call it. It's like this oneness, right? I think I'm one with my mother until I realize I am independent from her. I'm different from her. There are these levels, and once my nourishment no longer needs to solely come from her, I am developing. And this can, depending on the psyche of the individual child, can, register as a shock, the separation of this development, of this realization. We are not one, we are two. I can be separate and I'm okay. And this is, and as we go through, we kind of shed that layer. We have the ectoderm, the outer skin, and we go through these full body rashes, the chicken pox, measles, all of these external skin adaptations because we are going through kind of this whole body separation conflict that has come into resolution though, right? And so the symptom comes when we've resolved it, when the psyche has processed the separation. And so, yeah, if we are holding on to it, and if there's guilt, and if there's a story, and if there's a I'm bad or wrong because I shouldn't be separated from this animal, and I shouldn't be, so when we have that story, we have to see what is it going to take for this story to be put to bed. What would it take for me to laugh about how neurotic and fixated and codependent, and how that I was creating all of these stories, because codependence is actually a beautiful thing, right? Like being, like my animal does depend on me, and that's a beautiful thing. But when we can't even be apart for an hour for an afternoon, because I have a story that they're not okay, and then I'm not okay, and then what are we mirroring back? Just a lot of not okayness. But when we can get to, I'm okay, you're okay, there's win-win solutions everywhere we look, right? There's all, around every corner, there's always a way that this can be a win-win. But when we are conditioned in win-lose, or if somebody's getting their way, someone else isn't getting their way, right? Like that's how most people think that we have this zero-sum life situation. Someone always loses out because of what? The conditioning of early life. But when we start seeing that solutions are everywhere, right? If we are aware and creative enough, right? This really is not the universe the most creative thing ever? I mean, I just walk around and marvel at every little interesting, creative plant and leaf formation. Wow, isn't it so interesting that the leaf is shaped in that particular way? How infinitely creative. You don't think that there's a creative solution to what you're currently dealing with? It's just a limit of your creativity. When we take the blinders off, when we get out of the guilt and the shame and the preoccupation with problem, then we can open up to the new realm of win-win solutions. And someone can come walking down the stairs, up online.
Oh, it's so juicy. The universe is pausing it. Melissa, you're slightly frozen for all listeners, and it's brilliant. There it is. Perfect. The universe was like, wait, hold on, take this in. Freeze the moment. Going. It's so good.
I don't know where it cut off, but the whole
Win-win. It's a win-win unless you're in a no-win.
win-win, opening up to solutions, being in that, like, the problem. It's just people, we get too stuck on the problem and we build our whole identity out of the problem, and then we make support groups about the problem. And it's like the problem, it's okay for there to be problems. It's okay for less than ideal things to happen. It must be that way in order for the infinite creativity of the universe to show you in the most delightful way, right? We can't demand it. You allow it. You allow it, and then the surprise shows up, and the solution comes in the form of a YouTube video, of a course, of a person you bump into, someone walking down the stairs. Something comes into your awareness, and you're like, oh, I'm ready, right? And so, really, it is about awareness, readiness. Trust in the infinite creativity. That's what I tell people. It's like if you are stuck in a conflict, if you are stuck without knowing how to solve this, it's just a lack, a disconnection from limitless creativity, right? And the more that we just kind of sit in that, that limit, I know there's a solution to this, even if I don't know what it is, right? And maybe part of you coming to whatever that solution is, there's so many beautiful things and people that we meet along the way to solving these seeming problems, right? Which all it is, it's just a seed that we're meant to plant into the soil of darkness, right? When you're confused, when it seems dark, when you seem like there's no way out of this, like, just trust that those roots are sprouting, that things are happening. Unseen forces are working behind the scenes on your behalf to bring about. Ask and it is given. Immediately the solution is there. Now it's just opening the eyes, and allowing yourself to be in that receptive state, which it sounds like these are just evidence of, like, she was receptive. She was receptive. Her eyes were open. She was aware, right? She got out of her problem. She stopped, being a victim of, oh, my injury and all, you know what I mean? It's like, I had to be right, and I had to go through, right? You have to go through. You had to go through everything you went through. No matter what it is, you had to go through it in order to be ready to receive and tap into the next creative solution, that next level of evolution, of career, of life choice, of wherever, all of these things. It's such a beautiful unfolding.
The value in opposite of the devalue, right? That brings our conflicts. The value, I value it, therefore it is. Even in the confusion of self-devaluation, it's this, I value this because it's here. And I've chosen. So that's what I was hearing is we've chosen to be receptive. So the parable that presented itself recently to me, and I don't know if it's a parable, but that's the word that's coming, is you're, instead of a fork in the road, it's sort of like Wizard of Ozzy. There's this yellow brick road, and she's thinking she's lost and realizes it was a dream eventually. But in this dream, here comes the world, the conflict that was the world biologically adapted to our psyche, that we're lost. We don't know where we are. And so here comes the yellow brick road. And along the way, she meets people who give her nuggets, versions of herself that say, wake up. Oh, no, it's not what you think. Here's the heart. Here's your courage. Here's oh, and that now, oh, wait, hold on. Don't get too comfortable. Here come the flying scary monkeys and the wicked witch. And all the whole time, the goal for her is to get back home. And they tell her there's this wizard behind the veil, which, there's lots of ways to look at it. And the parable that presented itself with the help of chat GPT the other day was, you're on this path, and there's a huge tree that's fallen, and you can't go through it or over it. You have to go left or right. You have to make a choice, which is what we're doing all day, every day. And the stuckness, the self-devaluation portal, the lostness, all the things, is in the point of delay that I am staring at this tree and I don't know which way to go, which is the right way. If I go this way, I might be wrong. If I go this way, I might be wrong. Well, the premise is I think I'm wrong already. Does it really matter which way I go? I'm going to feel the same way. Or I can stay exactly where I am, which is in this delay of judgment. Here comes judgment. And now I feel guilty about it because I've done nothing with my life at this tree. Choose again, just choose again. And so you go left, and guess what? We are given all these opportunities as our life unfolds to, oh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that partner. I didn't like this. This wasn't a great experience. Try again. Level up. Go back to the beginning of the game, start again. Every time we have one game, the board game where you get to collect money along the way. Collect it every time you go pass, go again. It's just the opportunity to just keep doing it. What are we actually doing? I'm curious, maybe just to kind of plant the seed in this beautiful portal is Ruby Rose's or Nikki's or Gretel, right? Our experiences with our AniMirrors, the experience of death, the after death communication, is that an opportunity to resolve the original thought of separation? Because if we're communicating, then we didn't actually separate. It's our eyes, our senses that deceive us. So what if we choose again? Like, I don't know. I don't, and it's really in this point is that choosing thought differently. No, I don't like that thought. Instead of making a choice left or right around the tree stump, it's no, I don't. I actually, my eyes are deceiving me. I'm not actually stuck, and my thoughts are deceiving me. It's become a thinking system. It's become a belief system. It's become BS. So what do I do with it? Well, I don't like that. It doesn't make me feel good. Is this helpful? Is this a Tim coming down the stairs answering the split second question I had? Or is this chaos? Well, it didn't happen to me. I created it. Oh, which is where we kind of started. The opportunity is I valued this. I created it. I cannot create it, or I can create something new. And now, I mean, the offering that is kind of laid down here is, so Ruby Rose, we're not separate from Ruby Rose or Gretel or Nikki or any of our AniMirrors or anyone who is seemingly transitioned. It's just been a transition. It's just shifted. So, and now we're communicating. So all the telepathy the age of Aquarius that has just infused all of us, the mind of all these possibilities that we knew were there, but we just were kind of, I don't want to open that door yet. I don't want to choose that yet. And now here we are, resolving. So I guess the question is, can we laugh about it yet? Can we laugh about the thought, the crazy idea that Ruby died, transitioned, and everything in me for Nikki? Yeah, but I can't see him. Well, yeah, he's already taught you that, Nikki became Phoenix, and Nikki's birthday was the 14th. So all of this is just rich with, here it is, he's communicating again, bringing in Ruby and reminding us again. So, it's a good one. Can I laugh? Can I laugh when I think I see something passing? Can I laugh? Can I get there yet? It's an offering, right? It's a choice. And it might be a mad, crazy choice judged by all the other parts of me. Like, wait, you should be grieving and crying. And, well, okay, maybe not. Can I choose to experience this differently? And maybe everything shifts from there. All the communicators are here now. Like, we're all arriving into this platform, into this game to say, wait a minute, hold on. It's not what you think. Well, we can hear them or we can see them in images, but what is that? What is that? Where are the images in my mind? Oh, so did I also create the image of the transition? It's fascinating to kind of sit with, all of these thoughts, right? That are more expansive than retracting of something's wrong with me or it happened and
Yeah, I think that was a huge revelation for me, this idea of we aren't separated even when somebody physically passes, that connection remains. And even Ruby came into my life a week before one of my best friends was killed. And I know that so much of what she led me towards was to help me see, because in the first couple of years after that, I was just so deep in grief. I'd already lost a couple of friends, and then my grandma died, another friend died. It was like I just had loss all around me. And at that point, I was raised Catholic, and then I was like a serious atheist. I was like, no, there's nothing, none of this. And that's where I was at that point. But when my friend was killed, I just was having such a hard time believing that she could really be fully gone. Like could not wrap my head around that. And that was where I do feel like she led me on this path of exploration to understand she's not gone. And, I know my friend was also leading the way to get me to that place too. And when Ruby passed, of course, it's obviously extremely difficult. There's still grief that's going to come up, and you do have to allow yourself to have those experiences because their physical presence in this reality we are living in is no longer there. And that's a huge shift. But if I hadn't had the awareness that she was still right there with me, like to the point where, the day she passed, I was able to communicate with her that night. Like that is such a gift. And that's part of why I'm so passionate about animal communication, because I just want everyone to understand that. Like there is like you said, Melissa, there's so much magic in the universe. It's incredible. And Amy, you were talking about kind of like, can we laugh at it? And I had an experience like a couple months after Ruby passed where I was just cleaning out things in the pantry, and I came across these like powdered herbs that I would use in her dog treats of like, powdered chamomile and things like that. And I was just sitting on the floor, and I just felt this wave of grief come over me, and I started crying. And normally I would just be like, let me keep just cleaning, and like I don't want to I don't want to, grief is really uncomfortable. I don't want to sit here with this. But I was like, let me just take a moment to be with this feeling. So I just sat, I put my hands over my heart, I let myself cry. And then all of a sudden, the grief transformed, and I could feel Ruby right there with me. It was as if she was literally licking my face, and she was telling me, like, then she started licking her lips, and she was saying how much she loved the treats that I made for her. And she was just joking and like, just kind of being very playful. And the tears turned to laughter. And if I hadn't paused to have that moment, if I hadn't been open to awareness that like she's still with me all the time, then I wouldn't have had that opportunity to experience laughter around this. And even after it happened, I was like, I don't know if I can tell anyone this. This does make me sound a little bit crazy. And I don't know too many people who, in the context of grief, are also talking about like laughter and the ways that it can shift and move and flow. Um, but it was such a powerful experience. And I think it's Lee Harris, the intuitive, but he said something once about the grief is often a feeling that's coming up that's just reminding us of the love that's there. So the more that we can not be afraid of grief and kind of redefine it as, oh wow, there's so much love coming up within me for this animal, for this person that I'm really missing right now. But can I just use this moment of this grief to feel into the love that's there? And when you do, then they come right in. They're always, I feel like our loved ones in spirit, our animals, they're always right there when the grief is there because they want to support us through those moments and to remind us, like you were saying, that there is no separation. They're right there. Yeah, I think it's all just so magical and beautiful. One of the other things you mentioned, Amy, too, was about the self-devaluation. And I just wanted to pull on that a little bit because that was a huge thing that I realized too with this class that Ruby was helping to show me. So she had Lyme disease, and I think Amy, at one point in the class, you said Lyme disease was love yourself more every day. When you said that, I was like, that's exactly perfect. So her Lyme disease, she would have days where she couldn't move or get out of bed. Her joints would be so inflamed. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think from the class, from the GNM perspective, that's a connective tissue issue. So it would be related to the self-devaluation. And at the time that this was happening, I had very little love for myself. I had very little compassion. I was constantly judging myself, beating myself up, holding myself up to really high standards of perfection. And I started after, a couple of years of being with Ruby, there was something, and this was at a point where I wasn't really aware of signs and things coming in, but there was something that told me I had to take this 3-day workshop on self-compassion. So I signed up for it, and it was a life-changing experience because I really hadn't understood how much I was not offering myself love and compassion. So easy to offer to everyone else. Everyone in my world was getting all the love and compassion from me, but I had none to give to myself, or I had it, I just wasn't giving it to myself. And this workshop just gave me all these tools and meditations and different things, loving kindness, all these things that I could practice to bring more love to myself. now looking back on it, I can see that, eventually the flare-ups of Lyme disease, or whatever, they stopped happening and she was getting better and better. And then every now and then she would have one randomly and I would be like, what's happening? Like, there's nothing different. And now I'm like, it was obviously at a time when I was beating myself up, judging myself, not loving myself. And even this year, so many of the readings that I've done, not just animal communication, like mediumship, and then I do what I call open readings. They're kind of psychic, but kind of just soul to soul. Um, so many of the messages are about you need to love yourself. You need to love yourself physically. Like, that is something that keeps being like underscored. You do have to love how you look, how you appear. You can't just love yourself, who you are on the inside. Like, it does matter in this reality, in this world we're playing in, that you love yourself and your appearance, but you do also have to love yourself inwardly also. And I think that's just such a piece too, similar to the guilt and shame. Like, you can go through your whole life without realizing that you don't love yourself. And I just was so grateful to her that she showed me that. And then again, it's this moment of, I really want to share this because I want people to understand that there's ways our animals are showing us things and it might not make sense. Like, it might seem bizarre. She has Lyme disease. She can't get up from bed. So she's telling you to love yourself. But that is the connection that is there when you kind of open up to what's happening. So yeah.
That's the connection in the connective tissue. I mean, it's coming right out of your mouth. It just, crazy's okay with us. That's how AniMirror came to be. We're flying constellations here. Just, it's magnificent. And I think you answered the question with, it's subtle, but at that threshold, what is the choice? You chose love. How? Because you asked the question, which was you asked for help. And help is self-love. And so that's like, is this a loving choice or is it a different choice? And there's nothing, I don't believe there's not love. So it's just what we make to believe not love. So that threshold moment is that question. Do I love myself? I went, okay, I'm going to ask for help. Or I'm going to stay in bed and self-devalue, which is what she showed you, and it's no shame or blame as far as like, that's just what we're choosing in the moment. Because, and in the maybe the big circle of this is because I didn't know. I didn't even know I could choose differently. Sometimes that's part of the psyche locked. I didn't even know I had a choice. And that's kind of where the sovereignty came in. Well, I do have a choice. I do have a choice in the game. I can keep repeating the same level. Why not? And then sort of in the end, you just say, who cares? Who cares? The part of me that cares is the one that's devaluing or valuing one over another instead of just get in and play. And who cares? Like, if someone throws sand in the sandbox, it's only that I believe and choose that this is not right and this is wrong and now I'm hurt, that it becomes a fight and a conflict, and then the world unfolds. My world unfolds from there. So there's so many nuggets here. Anything else from you, Melissa? This is crazy. So good, crazy good.
Love the connection with the Lyme and the self-evaluation, which was like such a clear mirror. Love the I mean, just that ability to bring the laughter into the grief, into, wow, here's a moment. I mean, yes, I've got, we've lost multiple animals and little trinkets, and it's so easy to go into the heaviness, but to transmute that into the laughter, into the joy, into the remembering that there is no loss, there's just the transformation. And yeah, and sometimes that is what we need to remember, that there's, yes, there's beauty in the depth and the experience of grief, but then when we can lighten it, we can see that mirror of the laughter and the knowing that they're here now and they've never left and they just change forms and they come in and they come out and we'll come in and we'll come out, and we'll, the more that we can bring that really, I find, oh gosh, with conflict, it's like you have to, there's such seriousness with conflict, and laughter truly is the antithesis. It's like, it's light, it's easy, it's no big deal. It's, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay for things to disappear, and it's okay for you to get sad, and it's okay for you to laugh about it and to realize that everything just transforms. And so thank you for bringing that piece in, because I'm sure someone needed to hear that today.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. The mere thought of the word conflict, it requires two. Think about the word itself. I'm with something else that is outside of myself that I think that I need this. And herein lies the separation. It's just wrapped up in it all. I think there's more than I think there's something outside of myself. I see there's something outside of myself. And when I start to say, well, I don't know. What if that's the crazy idea? What if I forgot that that isn't actually true? And that's a whole other. What if I just choose to say, no, that's not true? It changes everything. And so welcome to the different layers and liminal space of the game, and in between the levels and layers of, well, something's talking. Well, what is it? Well, maybe it's me, and the dog is God, and all of it is, we all are sparks, unique versions, and I'm just trying to get my attention every which way I can. So I just plant all of the players to keep saying, oh wait, that's me. Oh wait, okay, okay. And all for the fun. And I don't know if you were in the workshop where we offered the lexicon. In the word laughter is literally the words heal the heart. So we play with that a lot, and it's perfectly, beautifully, quintessently fit into one of the ways to resolve a conflict is to laugh. And from the Course in Miracles, we forgot to laugh. That's why this all happened. So you brought that in, even with the grief of the original separation. Like, how did I get here? I don't know what happened. What did I do wrong? How did this all happen? And then, well, Dr. Hammer drops in this nugget. One of the ways to resolve it is to laugh. And that really just kept, and it's frustrating. How am I supposed to laugh about this? And, well, I forgot to. Well, how did I forget? How did this even happen? But the joy, that for me is more creative. That's more expansive, is okay, well, show me how. Show me how to laugh about this. And for me, it's become hysteria in a kind of funny way. Like the laughing becomes crying instead of the crying becomes laughing. And it's just, either way, it feels nutty and also freeing to let it happen, let it flow through, let it. Yeah, I choose to receive this as you did. Ah, anything else you want to drop in here before we wrap this up with a beautiful ruby rose bow?
Yeah, I would like to add a little cherry on top of magic. So, just so people are aware, because our animals are still always with us, I had, just one tip is like communicate with them, say good morning, say good night. Like they hear it, they're there. But so one of the things after Ruby passed, I would, pray to her and ask her, or I like to just thank in my prayer. So I would thank her for sending me my next dog and making it very clear to me who this next dog was going to be. And that was always my message. It's like, thank you so much for making it so clear and obvious to me who my next dog is going to be. And wouldn't you know it, last month, all the signs started coming in, like one after the next after the next. It was unbelievable. And now for the last month, I've had this puppy who has no separation anxiety. She's 100% happy and fine when I leave. It's not a problem at all. So I know that Ruby Rose brought my newest dog, whose name is Rosie. We've got a little theme going here. Who brought her into my life, and I know that this is, to me, shows me that I did resolve that conflict. That I did what I needed to do to look at the guilt that she brought to my attention, and now Rosie and I can start from a different place. And I'm really excited to see what she has to teach me and how we're gonna learn and grow and evolve together. But yeah, just stay open. There's so many signs. There's so much magic. Our animals are always working with us, and it's just so beautiful to be able to experience that.
Oh my God. So you meant rose and not cherry. We put a rose on it. The rose is, you get the rose at the end of the ceremony. We've passed the test. This is so brilliant. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll put details. So if anyone wants to connect with Monica to do some of the work with her, that would be incredible. So we'll put her details in the show notes. And then if you are interested in the course in AniMirror, you can always go to AniMirror.com and check out our how many modules? 15, 16 module program where you can learn how we do it, how we unpack and blend the understanding of the biological laws with the understanding of this is a mirror, this is showing me something, which has been just the coolest journeys. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Find us on all the podcast platforms, YouTube, live, Instagram. And what's coming is the Dog Days of Summer, the relaunch. And what we don't know. We don't even know what's coming through. We're just completely choosing to receive. And it's always a surprise. Thank you so much for joining us, Monica, Ruby Rose, for orchestrating this gorgeous, beautiful, serendipitous moment. And welcome, Rosie, to the AniMirror Pack. Thank you. And see you guys next time.